It was the last place I ever thought I'd see her. My ex-wife's mom, Lydia, standing there in the corner of the crowded cafe, her eyes scanning the room like a hawk waiting for its prey. I hadn't spoken to her in over 5 years, ever since I'd walked away from her daughter, Rachel, in the most painful way possible. Our marriage had crumbled, no doubt, under the weight of unspoken words, unmet expectations, and the bitterness that had seeped into our lives. But what had hurt the most was how quickly she had turned from the woman I once called family into a stranger. And now, here she was, glaring at me with that same piercing gaze, the one I used to dread when Rachel and I fought. I tried to ignore her. Really, I did. But Lydia wasn't the type of person you could easily ignore. Not when she had a way of making you feel small with just a look. It was the way she carried herself, as if she knew the secrets of the universe and you were just a mere player in her game. And today, in the midst of a world that had moved on without me, she was about to remind me that I hadn't truly escaped. I was sipping my coffee, my mind swirling with memories, when she suddenly appeared at my side. Her perfume, thick and familiar, cut through the air before I even saw her fully. Lydia leaned in, just close enough for me to hear her low, cold whisper. "Want a look?" Her smirk was both wicked and knowing, like she had something to reveal, something only she could show me. My heart froze in that instant, couldn't breathe. Her words were a subtle but powerful challenge. In that moment, I felt the weight of every wrong decision I had ever made. I didn't know how to react. Should I ask what she meant? Should I run? Or was I just as trapped by her as I had been when I married Rachel? Lydia, seeing my hesitation, pressed on. "Rachel's gone, you know. She's moved on. But you're still here. Stuck." Her words stung, each one a dagger digging into the raw places in my soul. The truth was, I had never really moved on either. Sure, I told myself I had, but there I was, still sitting in that cafe, still tied to the woman I once loved, and to the mother who had always seen me as a failure. My hand trembled as I placed the cup down. "What do you want from me, Lydia?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. She chuckled softly, as though I were a child asking for an explanation he'd never understand. "You always were clueless, weren't you? I'm not here for you, really. But if you want to look, if you want to know what you missed, I'm happy to show you." Her words hung in the air, and I felt a weight settle deep inside me. Was she talking about Rachel? Had she finally found peace? Was there something I needed to see to understand the truth of what had happened to us? I could feel my heart pounding in my chest. Every instinct screamed for me to leave, to walk out and forget all about Lydia's taunting games. But part of me, the part that had never fully let go of the past, wanted to know what she meant. I wasn't sure why, but I couldn't turn away. I sat frozen, torn between the past and the present, between the pain of what I had lost and the hope of what could have been. "Follow me," Lydia said, her voice smooth, like she was guiding me into something I had no choice but to accept. She turned without waiting for a response, and I found myself trailing behind her, unable to stop myself. My feet felt like they were moving on their own accord, one step after another, toward whatever this was, toward the unknown. We walked through the cafe, past tables full of chatter, past the familiar faces that didn't seem to notice the weight of the moment. I could hear my heartbeat in my ears, louder than anything around me. Lydia led me to a back room, a place I didn't even know existed. The room was dimly lit, with old photographs lining the walls. I couldn't help but notice that most of the photos featured Rachel, her smile, her eyes, her life. But there was something unsettling about the way Lydia stood in front of them, like she was guarding a secret I wasn't meant to see. "Do you remember these?" Lydia asked, her voice almost too casual, as though she were talking about the weather. "Do you remember her?" My heart sank as I nodded, unable to form words. Of course, I remembered Rachel. How could I ever forget? She had been my everything once. The girl I had promised to love forever. The woman I thought I'd spend the rest of my life with. But that had all changed when the walls we'd built between us had come crashing down. Lydia turned back to me, her eyes dark and knowing. "She was always too good for you, but you couldn't see it, could you?" The words cut deep. I had always known, on some level, that Lydia never thought I was good enough for her daughter. But hearing her say it out loud, so matter-of-factly, made the weight of my mistakes unbearable. "Rachel's better off without you," she continued, her tone sharper now. "She's married to someone else. Someone who treats her like the queen she is." I felt my chest tighten, my throat going dry. This wasn't what I had expected. This wasn't the revelation I was hoping for. I had wanted to know if Rachel was happy. I had wanted to find closure, a sense of peace that would allow me to move on. But instead, Lydia's words were like salt on an open wound. "Does it hurt?" Lydia's voice was suddenly softer, almost pitying. She leaned in closer, her gaze never leaving mine. "It should." I didn't know how to respond. The emotions swirling inside me were too much to handle. I wanted to lash out, to scream at Lydia for twisting the knife in my chest, for making me confront my past in a way I wasn't ready for. But I couldn't, because deep down I knew she was right. I had hurt Rachel. I had let her go when I should have fought for her. And now, she was gone. And I had nothing left but the memories of what could have been. Lydia's expression softened just for a moment, a flicker of something almost human crossing her face. "I'm sorry," she said, the words barely audible. "I didn't want to hurt you. But maybe, just maybe, you need to see the truth." She stepped back, giving me space. I stood there in silence, the weight of her words sinking into me. Maybe Lydia was right. Maybe seeing the truth, painful as it was the only way I could ever truly move forward. As I turned to leave, Lydia's voice stopped me. "Don't go running away from this, Daniel. You'll never be free of it until you face it." And for the first time in years, I didn't walk away. I stood there, in the quiet, in the dark, facing the reality I had avoided for so long. As I walked out of that room, the weight of Lydia's words still heavy on my heart, something inside me shifted. Maybe I wasn't as far from the past as I thought, but that didn't mean I had to stay stuck in it. The road ahead was uncertain, but it was mine to walk. And maybe, just maybe, this was the first step toward healing. If you've ever found yourself haunted by the ghosts of your past, struggling to let go or make sense of it all, you're not alone. Sometimes the hardest thing is to face the truth. But it's in those moments that we find the strength to move forward, to rebuild, and to finally break free. If you've connected with this story, or if you've ever been at the crossroads between the past and your future, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. You never know, your own story could be the next one that inspires someone else to face their truth. Thanks for joining me, and stay tuned for more emotional journeys.